All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to tackle a big one, real estate finance. Whether you're thinking about buying your first place or you're just curious, we are going to break down all the essential concepts you need to know, one simple idea at a time. Yeah, if you're looking at these words and your head is spinning, don't worry. You are exactly where you need to be. By the time we're done here, you'll have a clear roadmap to navigate all your options with some real confidence. Okay, let's just jump right in. We've got to start at the foundation, right? And that means looking at the two main ways a loan gets, attached or secured to a property. This is the bedrock of everything else we're going to talk about. So first up, we have the mortgage. We've probably heard this term a million times. Just think of it as a straight-up two-way street. It's you, the borrower, and the lender. That's it. The property itself is the collateral, the security for the loan. And if things go south and you can't pay, the lender has to go through the courts to foreclose. Okay, now here's where it gets interesting. A trust deed throws a third person into the mix. So you still have the borrower, they're called the trustor, and you've got the lender, who's the beneficiary. But now there's this neutral third party called a trustee. Their whole job is just to hold on to the property's title until that loan is all paid off. And that number, 3, that's the magic number here. That's the key difference. A trust deed has 3 parties, not 2. You'll see this a lot in states like California, and believe me, it completely changes the game if the loan goes into default. So let's connect the dots. This is why that third party is such a big deal. With a regular mortgage, if there's a foreclosure, it has to go through the court system, and that can take a long, long time. But with a trust deed, that trustee has something called the power of sale. That means they can often foreclose without ever stepping foot in a courtroom, which makes the whole process way faster. All right, so that's how the loan is secured. Now for the next logical piece of the puzzle. Once you have the loan, how do you actually pay it back? Let's look at the different game plans for repayment. Okay, this is probably the one you're most familiar with, the fully amortized loan. Your classic 30-year fixed-rate mortgage. They sometimes call it a level payments loan, and for good reason. It's all about predictability. Every single month, you pay the exact same amount. Part of it covers interest, the other part chips away at the principal, and at the end of the term, poof, your balance is zero. Now, an interest-only loan can look really tempting at first, because your monthly payments are way lower. But there's always a but, right? Here's the catch. You're only paying the interest. That big chunk of money you borrowed, the principal, it's not going down at all. It just sits there until the very end of the loan when you have to pay it all back in one massive balloon payment. Then you have this kind of middle ground option, the partial amortization loan. It's a bit of a hybrid. Your payments cover all the interest plus a tiny bit of the principal. But it's not enough to pay the whole thing off. So just like the interest-only loan, you're staring down a big balloon payment at the end. These are usually pretty short-term, maybe 3 to 5 years. And looking at this chart, you can really see the trade-offs crystal clear. The fully amortized loan is all about stability. You know exactly what you're paying and you end with a zero balance. The other two, they give you lower payments right now, which can be great for cash flow. But you've got to be ready for that massive bill at the end. It really comes down to what you're optimizing for, long-term peace of mind or short-term savings. Okay, so you've got the foundation, securing the loan, and you've got the repayment plans. Now let's look at the actual menu of options. These are the different types of loans, the tools you can use for the job. Let's talk about the ARM, the adjustable rate mortgage. The whole idea here is basically sharing the risk. Your interest rate isn't set in stone, it moves up and down with the market. Now, why would you agree to that? Well, because you're taking on the risk that rates could go up, the lender gives you a little reward, a lower interest rate to start things off. And this chart just lays out the gamble perfectly. See, you start out with that nice low rate, lower than a fixed mortgage. Your payments are smaller, but you are absolutely rolling the dice. If those market rates shoot up, so does your payment. You could end up paying way more over the life of the loan. You're basically making a bet that rates will stay put or that you'll move or refinance before they climb too high. Okay, picture this. A developer is building a whole new subdivision. Are they going to get 100 different loans for 100 different houses? No way. They get one giant loan called a blanket mortgage that covers the whole tract of land. And the cool part is, it usually has what's called a release clause. So as they sell off each house one by one, they pay back a piece of the loan, and that specific house gets released from the mortgage. Yeah, financing new construction is kind of like a two-step dance. First, the builder needs money to, well, build the thing, so they get a short-term construction loan. Then, once the house is finished and you come in to buy it, you get your own long-term permanent loan. We call that the takeout loan, and the money from your loan is what's used to pay off the builder's original construction loan. See? A neat little handoff. Now, this one is a really interesting tool, an open-end mortgage. Think of it like a credit card that's attached to your house. It gives you the power to borrow more money against your property down the road up to a certain limit without having to go through the whole hassle of applying for a completely new loan. It's pretty handy. But wait, there's more. Financing isn't always about just going to your local bank. Let's get into some of the more creative strategies and government programs that really broaden the horizons. A sale-leaseback. This is a slick move, especially for businesses. Imagine a company owns the building it operates out of. They can sell that building to an investor, get a huge chunk of cash, and then, at the exact same time, sign a lease to stay right where they are. So they turn their building, a fixed asset, into cash they can use to grow the business, all without having to pack up and move. Pretty smart, right? And you can't talk about real estate finance without talking about these big government programs. Now, most of them, like the FHA or the VA, don't actually lend you the money themselves. What they do is insure or guarantee the loan for the bank. This makes the bank feel a whole lot safer, and because the risk is lower for them, they're willing to offer you a loan with much better terms, like a tiny down payment. Now, the CalVet loan is a bit of an exception. That one is a direct loan from the state of California for vets. So when you boil it all down, what's the point of all these programs? It's really simple: to get more people into homes. They're designed to lower the biggest hurdles that stop people from buying a house, things like saving up a massive down payment or having perfect credit. Wow, okay, we've covered a ton of ground. We started with the very foundation of how a loan is secured. We walked through the different repayment plans, and we looked at a whole menu of different loan types. Look, there's no single best option here. The right choice is always going to depend on your money, your goals, and frankly, how much risk you're willing to take on. The real power is just knowing what tools are in the toolbox. So the question is, which one are you going to use to build your future? Thanks so much for joining us.